Hi guys and welcome. Today is a full face of Chanel featuring another one of the eyeshadows from the Chanel Boutons collection. So let's get into it. I've done my skincare for the morning and about 15 minutes ago I did put on sunscreen, but I haven't put on primer yet. And today I thought I would use the Sublimage one. This is absolutely beautiful and it comes in this gorgeous packaging. Now this is quite pricey, but you do get quite a bit of product. Not only do you get this, but it's refillable and you get 2 extras with it as well. So altogether, I think you end up with 35 mils of product, and it has that twist up pump. So I just do 1 pump of that and just put it on where I would normally put on primer. It does have that distinctive Sublimage fragrance, and it really just gives this beautiful, beautiful base before you put on your foundation. So I'm just going to let this sit for a couple of minutes and then we'll get into the foundation. So for my foundation today, I'm going to use the Chanel Beiges Water Fresh Tint, one of my absolute favorites from the Chanel foundations. I just love this one. And what I normally do is put on a couple of pumps on the back of my hand and then just break up the pigments. And today I'm going to put it on using the Victoria Beckham brush. Some people put this on using their fingers and other people with a beauty sponge. Any method is fine, it just depends which you prefer for your application. And I've spoken about this many times, this foundation, but it's just beautiful and it gives a very light coverage, and really what it does, it just evens out your complexion, and I just think it is very, very flattering and absolutely beautiful. I also really love the way, and it's the same with the Water Fresh blushes that they have, the Beiges ones, and it just feels so cooling when you put it on. And the other thing that I absolutely adore about this Water Fresh tint is that it goes really well with my oily skin in the cooler months and also in the middle of summer as well. So for my concealer today, I'm going to use the beloved Sublimage. I absolutely love this one. So I'm just going to take a little bit on the spatula and just dot a little bit in the corner. I'll blend down in a minute. And then also today, I'm just going to put a little bit over that sunspot as well. And to blend it out, I'm going to use the BK Beauty concealer brush. Eyeshadow primer is on, so now I'm just going to do my eyebrows using the Chanel Micro Eyebrow Pencil. I got another one of these the other day because I'd used my other one up and I thought I had a backup, but I didn't. So when I put in my order with my essay for 2 of these eyeshadow palettes, because the other 2 I picked up from Harrods, I ordered another one of these because I just absolutely love it. I love the fine pencil of it. And then just put on a very small layer of this is the Benefit 24-hour brow setter, which I love as well because it keeps my eyebrows in place, but it doesn't have that heavy, crunchy feeling. And then for under my eyes, I'm going to use the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte Powder. I just use my finger. I'll just hold this a little. Actually, I'll take that brush out. I hardly ever use that. I just tap my finger in, get the smallest amount, and then just press it over top of the concealer. And of course, for powder, I'm going to use the one I absolutely love, and this is the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder. I'm going to use a Mer brush to put this on. And I don't need to put a lot of powder on at the moment because it's still cooler here. Today that I'm doing this video, it is now the 1st of September. So the first day of spring, and the sun has come out and it's looking really beautiful outside, but the temperatures are still on the cooler side. So I don't have to put on a lot of powder. I'm just lightly tapping in each time and just applying a small amount. Whereas in the warmer months, I do need to apply just that little bit more. For bronzer today, I'm going to use the Chanel, this is a Healthy Glow, the Sheer Powder, and this is in the shade, this is B40. I could probably go a little bit darker, but when I want to use this as a bronzer and a barely there, just get this very subtle warmth, then this is the one that I use. So it's not going to show a huge amount, but really with bronzers, I don't tend to like a heavy bronze look anyway. I just like just that hint of warmth. And also with these powders as well, you can put this all over your face as well. You don't have to use it as a bronzer. And I think it's really beautiful. I don't know how well it does show up on the video, because with these lights it tends to wash it out a bit. But you can see just this hint of warmth. And it really just goes with that whole beige aesthetic where you get this subtle warmth and just like you've been just kissed by the sun, but not too much. So now let's get into the eyeshadow. This is number 229 Boutons Stellaire. And I think this is really beautiful. My first two choices were the Mademoiselle and also the Couture one, but I also think this is going to look really pretty as well. Now from the looks of it, it doesn't appear to be a matte eyeshadow in here, and I think it's going to be more of a soft eye look. So I'll do some swatches, as I haven't tried this yet, and I've found it with some other palettes before that sometimes they can appear sheer when I swatch them on my hand, but once I put them on my eye, they definitely sort of punch a bit more pigment. But I think this is going to give a really gorgeous look. So number 229, Boutons Stellaire. And this is swatched from left to right and top to bottom from the quad. And they describe these shades as we've got a light ashy beige. Next we've got a light gold and also a silver blue. So today I've decided to use a few different BK beauty brushes. So this one here, this is the A502. And first of all, I'm going to go into this shade here. This is the one that didn't show up that well when I did the swatch, but then the skin on my hand is darker than what's on my face. So we're going to put this one on first, and I'm going to take this all over the lid, through the crease and up onto the brow bone as well. And I don't think it is showing that much as I apply it either. But I do think this would be quite a lovely contrast shade if you were just using this one here and then that one as well. I think then this one would show up more. I've just given my brush a wipe down, and now we're going to go into the shade here, which is described as a copper. And I am going to put this one in the outer corner. Now this shade here, this does have a lot more pigment to it. And now that I've put this one on, then you can see the difference with that first shade that I applied. Then I'm going to take another BK Beauty brush. This is the number 204, and I'm just going to stay with that copper shade, and I'm going to run this on my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take the A505 brush. We're going to go into this really pretty silvery blue shade. I'll try it with this brush first. I may also use the sponge applicator as well, but I'll just see how much payoff I get. I think this brush works just perfect, and that is a really, really pretty shade. So I'm also going to take some up through here as well and just lightly tap it so it's meeting that copper shade. Then I'm just going back into that copper shade and just add a little bit more in the outer corner. I don't want it to get lost from that blue shade, as the blue shade was more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. So I just want to make sure that this copper shade doesn't get lost, because I think the copper shade is just gorgeous. Then we've got this really gorgeous gold shade as well. It is more like a yellow. I think it's going to look really pretty, but I just don't want to add colors just for the sake of it. So I think what I'll do with this shade is put some in the inner corner, and I'll also put a little bit on my lower lash line as well. I'm going to take the Sonia G brush. This is the flat definer, staying with that yellow gold shade, and I am going to put a little bit on my lid as well, but I'm just using this really small brush because I just want to add just the smallest part just through here. I don't want to go over that blue shade too much. I think that looks really pretty so far, and I'm just deciding on what shade eyeliner that I'm going to wear. Normally I always go for a brown shade, but I think what I'll do is I'll just go and have a look and I'll pick out a grey eyeliner. So I've picked out this Chanel eyeliner. I haven't worn this for a while, and this one is called, well, it translates to Bleu Carbone. And I think that's going to look really lovely. I can't remember whether this was a limited edition or as part of the permanent collection, but if it is part of the permanent collection, I will have it listed and linked below. So I think that eyeliner works really well with this eyeshadow look, and just put on a small amount of mascara as well. So here is the finished eye look. And I think it's really pretty. I don't know whether, again, I would use all of the 4 shades together. I'd probably just use the copper, probably a bit more over the lid, and just a hint of that blue. I think it looks lovely, but for my everyday makeup, this is probably something, as I've got it as it is now, I probably wouldn't wear it in the day if I was going out. It's not too punchy or out there. What I do like about the formula is that I don't think, because I was a bit worried because there wasn't a matte in there, I don't think it emphasizes the texture on my eyes. It's just that I tend to stay with just certain colors that I reach for in my everyday makeup, and this is just a little bit different. I do think the finished look is really lovely, but when I go to reach for it again, I'll probably just use just a couple of the shades. So for the blush, I'm going to use the Chanel one. This is Orchid Rose, and this BK Beauty brush, this is number A507. Then I'm going to use the Chanel highlighting powder. I think this is the one. Yep, it's in Ivory Gold. Just using a fluffy brush, just kind of put a little bit on my cheekbones. And then for lipstick today, I'm going to use a Chanel lip liner and then one of the Rouge Cocoa Balms. This is in the newer Shine formula, and I do prefer these ones over the other ones. And the shade that I'm going to use today is Honey Bliss. So here is the finished look, and altogether I do think it does look pretty. I think the blush that I used and the lip balm that I used worked, and I like it more now that I do have the blush and the lip balm on as well. But really this isn't going to be my favorite out of the 4 quads that were released. I still prefer, I've now tried Mademoiselle and the Couture one as well, and I still prefer those 2. Now I've still got to try the Baroque one, that's with that beautiful purple in it, and I have a feeling I may like the Baroque one more than this one. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it looks nice on. It's just not one that I'm going to really reach for very much with my everyday makeup. Now I would probably mix and match it because I really love this blue silver shade in here. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. But I would probably put it with probably a brown. I know that's a really safe color, but that's probably what I'd put it with. And I think it would pop even more. And those 2 shades together, a brown or even a deep mauve or some kind of other deep shade, I just think that would look really gorgeous as well. Now this shade here doesn't really show that well on my lid. I do think if you just solely wore this copper one, put that with it as well, this would pop more, but really it doesn't show that well on my eyelids. So my favorite 2 shades from this, I think this yellow gold is really, really pretty, and I love it in the inner corner and under the lower lash line as well. And I also like this copper shade. I just don't know whether I like all of these different colors together for one eye look. I sort of like them separately really, and not all together. Now I know there's people that are going to love this color story, and like I said, I do think it looks really lovely on. It's just not a quad that I don't think I'm going to reach for very much. But on a more positive note, I think the Le Beige foundation is looking really beautiful. I'm pleased with the blush that I chose with this eye look. And of course, I really love those Rouge Cocoa Balms, that shine formula. As I said, I prefer it more over the original ones. It just has, as it says, it's got a little bit more of a shine, and I reach for those a lot. So the only one left I've got to try now is the Chanel Bouton the Baroque. As I said, that's with the beautiful purple shade in it. And I'm hoping I'll probably like that one more than the one that I've just tried on. So let me know, have you picked up this eyeshadow palette, or are you going to pick it up if it becomes available again? And if you have got it, what do you think of it? So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.